What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to the Indianapolis Colts Syndicate, where today we're going to be talking about training camp practice, day 11. It was only practice 7, but it's day 11 of training camp. Now, this is obviously, you're seeing this on Sunday. I wanted to get this out last night. Told you I'd get this out last night, but with practice ending late, didn't get information until it was too late. So I figured I'd just give you guys this first thing on Sunday morning. And as always, we're going to start with the inactives, who are Julian Blackman, Samson Ebicom, Mo Alley-Cox, Jelani Woods, and DeForest Buckner. Those are the names of note. Jake Witt, offensive tackle that just got drafted, he got placed on IR. There were some more guys that are out. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor not practicing. Zach Moss isn't around. So, there are other guys out, but those are the guys we're worried about. Juju Brent's finally not on that list. He made his first practice of the season. EJ Speed also back at practice and practicing with the first team at linebacker. So with that out of the way, let's get on to the quarterbacks. We always start with the quarterbacks. That's the most important position, and we have a new rookie quarterback that we're trying to figure out. How did he do today? Well, first of all, Anthony Richardson was taking second-team reps. Gardner Minshew was taking the first-team reps. They've been swapping back and forth. I thought maybe after 2 straight days of Anthony Richardson with the first team that he might get the nod this time around, and he might just stick with the first team. But Shane Steichen is dedicated to the path of having these guys switch from first team to second team. And from everything I heard from practice Saturday, the general consensus from everyone that was there was that Anthony Richardson was amazing and had probably had his best day of practice up to this point, which is important. Earlier this week, Tuesday, just a couple days after the nose procedure, he had his worst day of practice, 5 for 13. He threw an interception. Wasn't a great day of practice, but then he comes back the next day and had a really solid outing. So to come into practice with the twos after practicing with the starters for a couple days, he comes back with the twos and absolutely lights them up. He goes 9 for 11. All right, there were 2 different 11-on-11 periods in this practice. He went 9 for 11 combined, had 2 touchdowns. One of those touchdowns was a screen pass to newcomer Amari Rodgers, who looks like probably not just going to be a special teamer. It looks like they're actually trying to see if they can incorporate him into the offense in some way. But he took a screen pass, took it to the house, and then in the second period, he hit Drew Ogletree on a pass that went about 15 yards. He's about 15 yards out, but through a pass, was able to throw a touchdown to Drew Ogletree. So all in all, Anthony Richardson had an amazing day. Of course, using his legs also, I heard that there was a really big scramble that helped them get to the position that they were in to have that touchdown in the second 11-on-11 period. So for Saturday's practice, Anthony Richardson sounds like he's getting a gold star. And also Gardner Minshew, also going to get a gold star because he was also 9 for 11. Both guys throwing 81% completion in their practice. Obviously Minshew with the first team, and he just continues to make plays. He's been incredibly consistent throughout this training camp. So it's going to be interesting to see how this QB competition works. Anthony Richardson going to start the season? That is still a question that needs to be answered. This is a true quarterback competition with a guy that could be starting for multiple teams in the NFL this year, but decided to come in a situation where he knew we were going to be drafting a rookie quarterback. Then you have Richardson, who doesn't have the experience, but needs the experience. But this team, the way everything sounds, the way everything looks, the way the energy is in the building, feels like they just might want to win. Maybe Gardner's it. Maybe Richardson is the guy that gives you the best chance to win. As we go through the rest of training camp and into the preseason, it'll be interesting to see how this battle starts to really shape up, and so we can see who's going to be our quarterback week 1. Now, I already mentioned Drew Ogletree, how he caught a touchdown from Anthony Richardson in 11-on-11 periods. Overall, he was getting reps with the first and the second team. So obviously Richardson was on the second team. That's where he caught the touchdown pass, but getting reps with the first team is an important note. And we're going to continue to watch who's getting reps for the Colts at tight end, because they now have 9 tight ends. Okay, now remember, Mo Alley-Cox, Jelani Woods, both not practicing, but 9 tight ends on the roster. You just drafted one last year. You drafted one this year. You drafted one the year before. Mo Alley-Cox feels like he's probably not going to be on the team with the direction that they're going, but he's also probably the best run blocker at tight end on the team. So Also, a good chance he makes the team. This is such a confusing room, but it's a good problem to have. There's a lot of talent at tight end on this roster. And Drew Ogletree, before he got injured last year, it looked like or sounded like he was the best tight end at Colts training camp, even as a rookie. So it'll be exciting to see if Drew Ogletree can come back this year and be somebody that takes that step into stardom in the NFL. Who is it going to be? I feel like we have somebody in that tight end room that can be a star in the NFL. And now that we have quarterbacks that can get them the ball consistently, maybe we can see who can be great and who won't be. Right. Another note on a pass catcher is Josh Downs. And the fact that Josh Downs and Anthony Richardson are starting to give me Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton vibes. Right. The fact that they're roommates at training camp. So they're seeing a lot of each other. As they continue to build a great rapport with each other, on the second team, but whatever. They're getting real life reps together and getting those reps down. If you get into a spot where, Richardson is a starting quarterback in the regular season, then you want to throw Josh Downs in there. He already has that familiarity with him and probably more familiarity with Josh Downs than any other receiver on the football team. And Josh Downs seems like a good guy to have as your friend. Today in practice, Colts haven't had any altercations in practice up until Saturday's practice. But in Saturday's practice, one of the altercations that happened was when Josh Downs caught a pass and he was running. He was about to run out of bounds. Nick Cross pushed him to the ground. And because of that, Josh Downs got up, went up, kind of gave him a little pop, let him know, like, hey, we're not doing that. We're on the same team. Cool off a little bit. But it's going to happen. These guys are fighting tooth and nail every day. And as many times as these guys are going to get hit, they're going to get up and want to have an issue with it every now and then. And just like Coach said, no problem with it. Be safe, but there's no problem with going at each other. And I like that approach. And so with that, that's really all we have for training camp. Evan Hull for the offense, another note for the offense, Evan Hull was, again, just kind of doing his thing. But I didn't see anything that was really out of the ordinary for him. The only other thing that happened was, one of the other chippy things that happened, one of the other altercations is when linebacker Siegen Alibi hit Evan Hull really hard. And for some reason, he has hit Evan Hull, good hits in practice at least 5 or 6 times over the last 2 practices. And there was one where Evan Hull, after he got hit, he got up, took issue with it, got up in Siegen's face, and those two had to be pulled apart. And again, that kind of intensity is good. That kind of competitiveness is good. You want to see who has it and who doesn't. Those are the guys that make the team, the guys that are fighters and not fake fighting, guys that are for real, guys that are real life dogs. So again, I enjoy this stuff. But Evan Hull clearly does not enjoy the treatment that he's been getting. Welcome to the NFL, man. These practices are not for the weak, my friend. But with that out of the way, a couple of defensive notes here. Shaq Leonard has no more limitations. This is not a drill, Colts Nation. He has no more limitations, as he was with the first team during 11-on-11 drills for the first time since the team put pads on. Coming into training camp, Shaq Leonard wasn't cleared for full contact at that point. And after practicing with the first team with no pads on, I thought, maybe they're going to come into this week and maybe he's going to be ready to go. That wasn't the case. This was the first time on Saturday night that he was able to practice with the first team with pads on. And that's great news. He said in his press conference after practice that when he watches tape, he's starting to see more of the guy that he's used to knowing, which tells me that by the time week 1 rolls around, Shaq Leonard's going to be Shaq Leonard. We're a month away from the NFL season at this point, and Shaq, it sounds like, will be back to being himself, which is, again, amazing news. But more news coming out of the linebackers. I want to go back to Siegen Alibi. I've seen his name come up a couple times over the last few practices, but I didn't really want to bring it up because, a guy getting second team reps as linebacker, who really cares, right? But he keeps stacking good practices, and with the injuries that had happened and, EJ Speed not being there, he was able to get more reps and show off more of what he can do. And with that, it seems like he's kind of finding a safe place on the second team. And, the Colts with Chris Ballard and Chris Ballard's time here, the Colts have been excellent at bringing in linebackers, whether it's the draft or free agency, mostly just the draft. But, Siegen, he's in his second season, undrafted free agent, got picked up by the Niners, released by the Niners in 2022, then spent the rest of the season on the Colts practice squad. And now he's getting his opportunity. And the Colts don't mess up at the linebacker position. So he sounds like a stud. Unfortunately for him, there's some depth on this team. But Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed both waited their turn. And now they're getting it. Siegen, as long as he keeps grinding, if there are any injuries or anything, it sounds like he'll be somebody that'll probably be thrusted into a position where he's maybe starting if one of the starters are injured and out of the lineup. Okay, and then our last note here, defensive note, is going to be about Darrell Baker. Darrell Baker was getting reps with the first team defense with Kenny Moore out. And I think that's really important because we've talked about Darrell Baker so much. The Camp Standouts video, he was in that. And him standing out is working out for him. Again, taking reps with the first team, it probably won't last. Tony Brown was also getting reps. Dallas Flower also on the first team. So when you don't have Juju Brents, you don't have Darius Rush, you don't have Kenny Moore, you have all these guys that shouldn't be with the starters, playing with the starters, but Darrell Baker has worked his way into that conversation. If guys are getting hurt, we could see Darrell Baker on the field in real action in 2023. Right. And on the note of corners, Juju Brents, again, first day at practice and training camp. So they're not just going to throw him to the wolves. They're going to take it easy with him. He did positional drills and only had a couple reps in 7-on-7, 11-on-11 as they continue to go through training camp. Preseason, obviously, his workload will increase, and we expect him. I believe everybody in Colts Nation expects him to be great. Maybe that's, a little bit of bias because he's from Indianapolis, but he was also really, really good in college, which is why he got picked in the second round. So having him back is going to be huge for not only secondary, but the entire defense as a whole, and getting him acclimated into this defense. So we're going to continue to monitor the secondary. It's the biggest question mark on this team. As things continue to happen, things continue to change, we'll continue to talk about it. So make sure you subscribe with notifications on. We're going to continue to monitor everything about this team as training camp and the preseason unfolds. There's so many question marks and so many things that we want answered before week one, and we're going to try to get those answers as soon as possible on this channel. So thank you for stopping by. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other. I'll see you for the next video.